imprisoned as you are in these bodies of flesh, you did it for a purpose. Now let us see what it tells us about this Son of Man that is now equated with the I of man. No one has ever ascended into heaven but he who descended from heaven, the Son of Man. You'll read that in the 3rd chapter, the 13th verse of John. So here we find you are a pre-existent being. No one can ascend into heaven but he who descended from heaven, the Son of Man. Your ascension in the next verse, the 14th verse, is showing you how you ascend. As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. That's all imagery, and yet it is true. You descended into generation in a world of death, where everything begins, it waxes, it wanes, and then it disappears. But there's something in you, clothed in this garment, that does die. That is pre-existent. And its home is heaven, which is harmony. You gave it up completely. You aren't pretending that you're a man. You descended into man. You became man. With all the weaknesses, all the limitations, all the restrictions of man, to experience this world of death and decay. There will come a moment in time that you will ascend from this restriction, taking with you the experience that is yours because of this restriction. And you will ascend in the same manner that Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness. That was an adumbration. That was a foreshadowing. You will rise from the base of your spine, up your spine into your own skull, for heaven is within you. And you will rise like a fiery serpent, without any loss of identity. The form you wear, I hesitate to describe it. I will tell you that your face is human, your hands are human, your voice is human, but do not ask me to describe the body that you wear. It's infinite power, infinite wisdom, and yet it is a form. You are that fiery being that descended, not because of anything that was wrong when you descended. The fall is not because of any mistake on our part. It's a predetermined plan to come down into the world of death and decay and overcome it. If coming down, wearing these garments, we knew who we were, pretending that we were men, we could not accomplish it. Any more than an actor on the stage, pretending that he is Hamlet, can actually play that part. He has to actually assume it, but even then it is still with a little something in his mind. He knows he is the great actor who tonight will go home to his lovely home, and he'll take off the garment and hang it up once more, and tomorrow he'll replay the play. You don't do that in this play of God. You don't take off the garment. You wear it for your 70, and if by strength, your 80, or maybe even longer, or shorter. But the I of man is the God of Scripture. Put it to the test. Let me now, first of all, before we go into the testing of it, make clear what I said on the last lecture night, Friday night, prompted by a question that was asked here. For I had said in the previous lecture that there are ranks in heaven as they are on earth. For this is only a copy. Everything here is a shadow. It's a copy of the eternal realities. And in the 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians, Paul describes the 8 ranks. He does it many times, but he never changes the first 2. The first is always the apostles. The second, the prophets. The third, the teachers, and then he goes on. Miracle workers, healers, helpers, administrators, and the speakers in tongues. But he never changes the first and second, the apostle and the prophet. You might think, because I told you I am sent, and the word sent means an apostle, that I am appropriating unto myself a certain first rank. But now, to put your heart at peace, I'm going to quote the 11th chapter of Romans. As of old, for there are always a remnant of old, and the remnant simply means the elect of God. You're not elected because you're born by accident into some ethnic group. Has nothing to do with that. A descendant of Abraham after the flesh is not necessarily the elect of God. You are chosen from any race, any nation, any religion. Well, how the choice is made, no one knows. It remains the Father's secret. But Paul qualifies it in this manner. There is a remnant to this day, called by grace. And if by grace, then it is not on the basis of works. Otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. Therefore, no one who is called and sent can brag. If he brags, he is not the sent. Because it's all by grace. He didn't earn it. It's not by merit. It is simply a secret known only to the Father. So when we are called, incorporated into the body of infinite love, who is God, and then sent, let no one who is sent raise a finger to brag, to boast, for it is all by grace. Read it in the 11th chapter, the 5th and 6th verses of Paul's letter to the Romans. So now I have stated that. So do not think for one moment when I tell you I have been called and sent that in any way I am trying to act superior. For there is no intrinsic superiority to those who are called. Now he uses an analogy which I do not think adequate, but you can read it in the book itself. He uses the analogy of the human form, that not all are head, eyes, nose, teeth, and so on. But that is a weak analogy. Nevertheless, he uses that to show you the different parts in one body. But now to come back to make this a very practical night. Believe me that when you say I, before you say I am John, I am Bill, I am this, I am that, I am the other, you are declaring yourself to be. And that sense of being is God. That's God. Now what are you going to put on it? All things are possible to God. All things. You could say now, as you're seated here, after first affirming that I am, you could then assume that I am, and you name exactly what you want to be. If you believe what I tell you about your own I amness, and remain faithful to what you have assumed, that assumption will harden into fact. When you pray in the true sense of the word, you do not pray to any external God. That was my command when I was sent down with the blue bloods. Has nothing to do with the social structure of the world. It has only to do with church protocol, all external worship, all ceremonies, everything that leads the individual outside of himself. To put a little cross on the wall and then bow before it and see it as something external is not what Scripture teaches. Buried in the Old Testament, there is a pattern. So he said, taking the 12, we're going up to Jerusalem. And everything written about the Son of Man, which is the eye of man, will be accomplished. But they did not understand what he said. It was beyond their ability to grasp. He is going up, and only the one who has experienced Scripture, which means he has actually resurrected the pattern, playing the part that is the central part of Scripture. He resurrects the pattern, all within himself. He plays all the parts. He is the one who is born from above. He is the one who comes out of the grave, unassisted. He is the one whose 3 witnesses bear witness to his birth from above. He is the one they cannot see because he is now spirit, yet more real than all the flesh in the world. He is the one who actually sees his son, David, and David calls him father, and he knows he is David's father. And David knows that he is his son. He is the one whose temple, the body, is split into from top to bottom. It is he now who ascends like a fiery serpent from the base of the spine up into the skull. He is the one on whom the dove descends and lights upon his hand like Noah in the ark. And as Noah brought the dove into him, you bring the dove to you, for man is the ark of God. And as the ark contains all things within itself, man contains within himself all things. Everything he creates from within himself. And this pattern, the individual awakens within himself. And who does it? The eye of man. And that is God. Now tonight you can test it, as you're called upon to test it. Test yourselves and see. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail to meet the test. Examine yourselves to see whether you are holding to the faith. What faith? To have someone tell me that I am a Christian, or I'm a Jew, or a Mohammedan, and holding to that faith that they talk about? No. The faith that I'm talking about tonight. That your own wonderful I amness is God. Test it to see if you're holding to that faith. If you're holding to that faith, and all things are possible to God, you should be able to prove it in the testing. She's not here tonight. She promised she would write me a letter, having told me the story on Friday. But I know she finds it difficult to express herself in writing. She can paint and paint and paint and do all kinds of lovely things in painting, drawing. And when I say to her, please write it that I may tell it to my audience before I close, for I have no future plans after I close on the 29th. So I would like to share your experience with them, to encourage everyone in this world to do what you did. Well, the letter didn't come. I can see her struggling over one page and rubbing out a line because she didn't spell the word correctly and going over the next one. But she can take a piece of canvas, a piece of paper, and do miracles with it. But because she's restricted in writing a letter, she didn't send the letter. But the essence is this. She is now a divorced girl with a little boy, handsome little fellow. Well, when you're living alone and you need money and you have a child to support and you have a home, all the things, and the money isn't coming in, then you're up against it. So she said, I blew my top, as you're told in the Psalms to do. She said, then I applied this principle, and I assumed that I had exactly what I need plus and plus. Then I got a call from First National City Bank of New York City. Now that is the second largest bank in our country. Bank of America comes first, they are second, and Chase Manhattan is third. Given me an order. She has no agent. This is an unsolicited statement. An order for $5,000, which she can execute and deliver within a month. Well, the First National City Bank of New York is not going to be hard-pressed to pay her immediately $5,000. If she called them and told them to pay it in advance, they would willingly pay in advance. And she said, I can execute that order in 1 month. But I want the details. I had hoped she would send me as she promised last Friday, but knowing her restriction concerning the use of words. You can use the brush and use the pen and use the pencil, but she's limited in the use of words. Eventually, she will send it, but I had hoped to have it by tonight. So I could give you exactly what she did. But this is what I do. Having convinced myself through experience, I have come to the conclusion that because I am aware that I am, that is God. For if by him all things are made, and without him is not anything made that is made, and I start from scratch, only imagining a state, and then I boldly assume that it is real, that I am actually experiencing that state now. And then in the not distant future, that state crystallizes in my world. Well, then I have found God. I have found the source of the phenomena of life. My only concern then is to share it with others and tell them, for they're all one. We are one. No one is greater than the other, not fundamentally. In his claims of what he is in the world of Caesar, he has more money, or he has so-and-so and so-and-so, but basically the same creative power in the man tonight behind bars serving life is the same creative power of the one who sentenced him to life.
The notion that Earth life is a play, inspired by consciousness, is a concept that has been debated and explored in various fields, including philosophy, science, and spirituality. Now, this idea suggests that the universe and all its contents, including life on Earth, are an expression of a higher consciousness or just a grand design. So this video that we just listened to or watched delved into the concept of consciousness according to Neville Goddard. Now, consciousness refers to the state of being aware of one's surroundings, thoughts, and emotions. It is the quality and state of being conscious, which is often associated with the human experience. However, some theories suggest that consciousness is not exclusive to humans, and may be a fundamental aspect of the universe itself. The idea that Earth life is a play, inspired by consciousness, can be seen as an extension of this concept. If consciousness is fundamental to the universe, it is reasonable to assume that it played a role in shaping the evolution of life on Earth. This perspective suggests that life on Earth is not just a random accident, but rather a deliberate creation or expression of a higher consciousness. Now, from a spiritual perspective, this idea is rooted in the concept of karma, where every action has consequences and the universe is governed by a web of interconnectedness. Now, according to this view, our lives are a manifestation of our collective karma, and our choices and actions determine the course of our journey. This perspective is echoed in many religious and philosophical traditions, which often posit that we are all players in a grand drama with a predetermined script that unfolds according to the divine plan. Several near-death experiences have also provided valuable insights into this concept. Many people who have had near-death experiences report feeling as if they were observing their lives from an outside perspective, as if they were watching a movie or a play. They often describe feelings of detachment, peace, and understanding, suggesting that they have transcended the limitations of their physical bodies and gained a deeper understanding of the nature of reality. Now, one of the key aspects of this theory is the idea that our lives are predetermined. This raises questions about free will and the concept of choice. If our lives are scripted, do we truly have control over our decisions and actions, or are we simply playing out a role predetermined by some higher power or collective unconscious? This paradox is at the heart of many philosophical debates about the nature of existence. Now, from a scientific perspective, this idea is also supported by recent discoveries in the field of quantum mechanics. The concept of entanglement, where particles become connected and influenced by each other regardless of distance, suggests that everything in the universe is interconnected and interdependent. This idea challenges our classical understanding of space and time, suggesting that our individual experiences are not just isolated events, but rather a part of a higher cosmic tapestry. Now, in conclusion, the theory that Earth life is a play, inspired by spirituality and near-death experiences, offer a profound perspective on the nature of existence. It suggests that our lives are part of a grand drama, scripted by some higher power or collective unconscious. While it raises questions about free will and choice, it also provides insights into the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of individual consciousness in shaping reality. Ultimately, this theory encourages us to approach life with humility, recognizing that we are all part of something much greater than ourselves. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.